like to call the village departmental meeting to order. If you would stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone watching at home. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter?
Present.
Trustee Mariscal? Trustee Kazam?
Present.
Trustee Gatt? Trustee Weisenberg?
Present.
Trustee DeVore?
Present.
Okay, again, welcome. We would be at approval of minutes from the departmental meeting on Tuesday, May 26, 2020. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. We would be at comments from the audience. Anyone who would like to address the board tonight, please come forward and give your name and address, and try and keep it to 5 minutes or less. Any comments from the audience? Going once, going twice. Comments from the audience are closed. We would be at old business. Any old business come before the board? Okay, we'll go right into new business. The first is Public Works with Trustee Carter. There's 2 action items. The first is an award of seal coating contract to R.A. Cullinan and Sons in the amount of $99,378.20. Trustee Carter, I'd ask for a motion to approve this.
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Trustee Carter.
Okay, so this is for our annual silica coating spray patch. The next one will be spray patching, but the engineers estimate the silica coating would be $102,621.56, and R.A. Cullinan came in below that. Actually, they came in below like $3,243, so that will be saving. So that's a plus. So I make a motion that we approve that.
Thank you, Cheryl. We already had the motion, I believe, right, Madam Clerk?
Correct.
Okay, sorry.
Anything else, Mike?
No, just both of those companies, Coleman and that Ace in the Hole, are very good companies. They do good quality work and never let us down. So.
Questions?
Did the motion cover both items?
No, just.
No, I think we have to vote on these separately, I believe.
That's the only time.
I just have a quick question for my own knowledge. Have we used these I should know this, but this is who's been doing it in the past as well, or no?
Yes.
R.A. Cullinan does it frequently. Ace in the Hole we've used not quite as often, but we've used before.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Trustee Carter?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Next is an action item, an award of spray patching contract to Ace in the Hole in the amount of $47,919.60. Trustee Carter, I'd ask for a motion to approve that.
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I do. Go ahead, Trustee Carter.
Okay, so this kind of goes in hand with the silica coating. This is the spray patching. The engineer estimated that the spray patch would be close to $55,000, and it came in at $47,919.60, which is a savings of $6,954. So a total for both of them, we are saving over $10,000, which.
Thank you, that's good news.
Great news.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Trustee Carter, anything else under Public Works?
Do you guys have anything?
I just have one thing. It's basically a free item we're giving away. Is we have plenty of mulch down at the street garage at 3838 Boulevard. You can pick it up on Cox, and you can take as much as you want. So we got a big pile. So all free mulch can go.
What color?
It's varies. I mean, it's turning brown, I should say, but it's still a brighter color right now. So some of it, but it's free to the village residents and things. So
do they need to contact you before they go get it?
no, they can just it's across the street right there. They can just go pick it up at their leisure. So But we got a big pile, so take all you want. So that's all I got, yeah.
Dave, one of the things I get the most compliments about is Tower Park. Can you give a quick update on summer help and Tower Park?
The flowers look great. They're
Yeah,
beautiful.
the two groundskeepers ladies have been working about 2 weeks. They're, as you can tell, they do fantastic work. They're going to finish planting the flowers up front tomorrow, and they're going to plant some grasses, I think, or something over here on this side of the building, I believe next week. And they'll be mulching late this week and early next week, so yeah, it's going to get better. I did notice that the fire hydrant memorial to Irene Hazenstein is underway. He's been painting the hydrant. I don't know if he's out there. No, he's not there now, but it looks to be almost completed, so that's going to look nice as well. We have 2 summer help kids that are starting Thursday. They'll be mowing village property, and that'll be about 90% of their job. They'll be working through probably early August.
Good.
So,
Will they be going down the alleys and trimming up the trees and stuff in the alleys too?
not the trees, they really can't do that, but we did that last week, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're with our crew, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's, their job mainly is mowing, and yeah, if we have time, they'll trim the sidewalks in the business district. They'll go through the alleys. They'll spray weeds and stuff, but their main job is mowing grass. It's probably a 3 or 4 day cycle, just from start to finish. So once you're done with it, you pretty much got to start back at the top.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I got a question real quick, Mayor, if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we going to continue painting hydrants? Because I know we painted a few last year.
Yeah, and the reason we did that last year is we had 3 summer help kids.
Okay.
We had 2 is sufficient, 3 is kind of, so we had the manpower to do that, and one of our summer help kids was a magician with the paintbrush.
Okay.
He did not come back this year, so in theory, if we could find somebody that was good at it and we had time, yeah, but I don't want to just throw anybody out there to paint them.
Right.
I know last year we concentrated, I think we got all the ones on Prospect and Glen done.
Right.
I believe we did, so those are all done, but as far as like the ones in the residential, right this time, that isn't on the spectra, but
Okay.
it could be.
Okay.
Actually, thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, because they look really nice. And
yeah, they look nice.
The ones in the neighborhoods are
I wish that kid would have
pretty
came back, because he was a magician with the paintbrush, but he didn't come back, so.
Anyone else? Is that it, Cheryl? Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Forgot to tell Cheryl, she should have said it, but, Forest Park Drive Hill will be closed Thursday between 8 and 12, 8 a.m. to 12 noon for hill maintenance. So I got the Park District coming in with us. We're going to trim up some trees, and we're going to take care of the grass and the garbage and things like that. So kind of spruce it up a little bit. So
Good, thank you.
just to put that out there,
Hey, Mike.
so this Thursday.
Mike, now that you mentioned it, there seems to be a lot more garbage on that hill than there's ever been. Like, ever. I don't know if it's because of the pandemic or people were agitated and just throwing stuff out of their car, but, I mean, it's real bad.
Right.
I can't answer the reason, but I've asked Mike and Dave to investigate the possibility of putting cameras on that road so we can, it is bad. How much time do you spend a week?
Oh, yeah, you can go clean it right now, and 20 minutes later, there's diapers and lottery tickets and
I've been
everything.
driving up that.
Needles and wallets and guns and tires and bowling balls, right, Mark? Bowling balls, everything on there. I mean, you can go clean it now, but and I'm not pinpointing anybody, but there's big dumpsters down at the apartments. I don't know why they can't wait till they get there. So I'm not pinpointing anybody, but that's my.
Or advertising the dumpsters down below, so.
Well, we should.
Yeah, save it, 'cause we don't have to pick
But
it
as
up.
long as I've been here, I've never, ever caught anybody throwing anything out the window. Because if I do, I'm gonna get the license plates and I'll go to the
Right.
chief. But I've never, ever caught anybody throwing anything out the window in 26 years.
Right, it's just, this year it seems bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just laziness and not, it's a forest park, it's a preserve for crying out loud, you know what I mean? And it makes us look bad too, you know what I mean? So, all of this, but I don't know.
Also, it's one of the gateways into this community.
Yes,
so-
Right.
yeah, you're right, exactly, but I don't know, maybe we can put something out to the people that live down, you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Maybe put a letter out to please, wait, don't throw your trash.
The problem with maintenance on that hill is that to do it properly and safely.
Right.
It has to be closed down.
I understand.
And when you close it down, it turns into chaos.
Yeah, 'cause I went-
Okay, here's another problem is, that hill is a feeder from Prospect, which feeds all of central Illinois, quite a bit. And I don't know how you guys keep up with it.
Right.
I mean,
It's a big thoroughfare.
I agree with trustee Weisenberg. It's worse than before. But
Right.
it's always been, it's like somebody's going down and just toss it out.
Right.
And I'm quite sure they're not worried about what side they're tossing it out to.
Right,
And
right.
they probably just look to see if anybody's coming up, and
True, true.
so I don't, I don't know about putting cameras on that thing.
Well, and we tried to get, like Dave was saying, adopt a highway like they do, and get the school district maybe up here during the week to do it, but it's just, them cars,
Right.
just fly down, so you have to close it and pick out a time. And we did have a group that was gonna do it, but they didn't have the right times or whatever, they're gonna get back with us, so.
Yeah, one day it looked like someone literally emptied their car.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it was that bad. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just trash everywhere.
all over.
I couldn't believe it.
Do we think it's like garbage coming from the houses that are on top of the hill, or is it people actually using?
No, it's McDonald's bags, McDonald's cups, throwing diapers out, they're changing the car.
Do we have any like littering fines, like the
Well,
signs?
Well, we got a sign posted up there. It's, what was it, $1,000 fine, but I can't catch nobody.
Well,
I wish I
and
could.
Do we have one
unfortunately,
coming both, do we have a sign going both ways, like coming down and?
Yours
up?
both ways, yeah, right.
it would, we're gonna have to spend money in order to catch them, because,
Well, yeah, if you want to
come on,
spend
coming on down
the
there,
expense of cameras, but,
Right.
that's, we really can't afford to be spending money on cameras now, though, can we?
no.
No, but
I mean, we can't pay, we can't give people their raises that
Yeah.
are due. How can we be spending money on, cameras for that hill?
Right. But we'll try to police it up and keep it the best we can, so,
besides closing the hill, I mean, do we have to close it? I know there's a safety issue.
right.
But have we before cleaned it without closing it?
We have cut the weeds and stuff, but it's just so dangerous. Some cars
Right.
come right by the guys, and
Right.
by the time you take your eye off the road or looking up, they're like
There's another
right
one.
there, yeah, that's.
And you got what, 3 guys now, or, I came in the middle, I'm sorry.
2 summer help guys, yeah.
Don't we normally have 3? But because of the,
It varies, what we budgeted, so. But we'll take care of that,
All right,
so.
thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, we'll move on to economic development. These are all discussion items. We've got actually a pretty light agenda tonight, but if the board so chooses, it may not hurt to save time at the next meeting, which could be very lengthy. If you want to delve into some of these topics, feel free to do so. The first is approval of a conditional use, special use application filed by War Memorial Paris Real Estate Trust seeking approval of a conditional use permit for an adult use cannabis dispensary for the property located at 828 through 908 East War Memorial Drive and 829 through 911 East Paris Avenue, which property is currently zoned B2. Trustee Kazan.
Yes, so most of us were at the meeting last night, so there was a lot of discussion and a presentation about this proposal. A few things I want to point out is that earlier this year, obviously, we decided to allow 1 license for cannabis right now, and this would be the first application we have. It's a conditional use permit, so council will explain anything any questions we have about that. What I understand it to be is that this particular outfit does not yet have their license. It has not yet been awarded to them. So medical marijuana companies have already received their license, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and there are 3 more licenses to be awarded in our area, and they're waiting for that license. But they have identified the property that is by Super Liquors. It's kind of an open field. It is on the south side of War Memorial. It's 200 feet away from Peoria Christian.
Correct.
The closest school. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. I think a lot of us.
The key point on the site plan is that it runs north and south from War Memorial down to Paris. The entrance to the parking lot is off Paris. They couldn't get access from IDOT off War Memorial.
no,
So
it's
the building-
highway.
Yeah, so the building is effectively, the back of the building faces War Memorial. So to get to it, you either turn at Super Liquors or after Super Liquors, depending on which direction you're going, and go down to Paris to enter, which is it diverts some of the traffic to Paris, which is obviously a lesser traffic street than War Memorial, but that's an IDOT issue that they couldn't get around.
Well, I think that's a great deal, because that takes it off. First of all, War Memorial is a major artery.
It is.
A major highway. They turn on Illinois, get over to Paris, come on, and they're all coming in off Paris.
Yep.
So it's Illinois and Monroe.
Yeah,
And I think it's
Personally, I think
it's
it's
a
better.
great place. It's been growing weeds for at least a decade, okay? And I think it's a good use of land going to waste.
I don't think anybody is really going to know what, that business is as compared to any other business, of a retail nature.
Well, a lot of them are warehouses, and you got super liquors down there. And then you got Florrie's Music. I think this all goes hand in hand, so I think it's a great idea.
Well, also, I neglected to point out that this passed through zoning. I mean, they recommended that
They
that we
did.
pass
And
it.
it was both site plan review and the special use.
Yes.
That conditional use term is the cannabis statute that the state used conditional use, but it's the exact same as a special use, which just means it's zoned for that use, but you can't just open up a business. You've got to go through zoning so that the zoning board and the village board have an opportunity to say, yeah, it's business zoning, but we don't want that use there. We'd rather have it somewhere else. So this is just an opportunity for us to have control over the site.
Does anyone have a site plan? Like, I was late to the meeting last night, so I haven't seen it.
Yep, I can share it with you.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's very, it's
They did a very
attractive.
professional job. Steve
Yes.
Kerr at Moore and Kerr
So
did
there's
a
a
phenomenal.
green space between War Memorial and the facade of the, I mean, it's not the entrance of the building, but the facade, I'm calling that the facade that fronts War Memorial. There's, Janie, of course, from zoning asked the question about trees and that type of thing, and they said that they would be true to what they had presented at last night's meeting, so they are planting trees and things. And I drove by there today, and it's not a very attractive situation right now. I mean, I feel like this aesthetically would be a betterment to the area.
Anyone else want to weigh in on this item?
I just have one question for council. Was there any discussion last night about on-site consumption? I know I might be getting ahead of myself on this, but,
We don't permit it. It didn't
okay,
even come up.
okay, all right, thank you.
Do we know how many companies are vying for the 3 licenses? I mean,
Hundreds.
I think,
The way this works, the original, so it went live January 1 of this year. The dispensaries that had medical cannabis licenses automatically got an adult use license. So you have, in Peoria, you have Trinity on University by Walmart. So they automatically on January 1 became a medical and adult use. And then those license holders also get a secondary site. So Trinity's going to be opening a site on Glen and Sterling.
Okay,
So that's what's open now. And the same thing in East Peoria. The medical dispensary in East Peoria opened up an ancillary site. So then May 1 was the determination deadline for the 3 additional licenses in Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford, and Marshall County. And they pushed that back because of COVID. So they haven't chosen yet, but there are, I don't know how many applications were filed, but there's a lot. There's a lot. The odds of these people getting chosen in this round are slim, but they're going to be in for the next round. The way they're doing it, it's going to mushroom. So it's 3 now, next year it's going to be 9, then it'll be, then they're eventually 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, they'll definitely get a license. So it's really just a matter of when.
so if we approve this, then when they get their license, they're coming here.
Correct.
I would think they would have to.
But, maybe they'll get it, but odds are they won't.
Well,
So a lot-
eventually.
Yeah, eventually, yeah. It depends on how long they want to hold that property.
Okay.
They're paying for it, so, how long are they going to hold that property open and wait?
So we're basically just laying the groundwork.
Yeah.
Getting them all set, ready to come in.
Yep.
I hope
Yep.
this really goes through,
Yeah.
because that has been nothing but an eyesore down there for a long, long time. I live down in that area. Something's got to be done down there, and I think this would be great. I mean, come on, let's improve it somehow.
So if we approve this, they're not gonna start building until they
Oh, no,
give,
no.
until they get a permit?
No. And they're saying that they think the state is going to decide who is awarded the licenses this month.
Okay,
They pushed it back a month, but
good.
we haven't heard anything.
okay.
So trustee Weisenberg, back to your original question, I would say we've had maybe 3 different groups of people who have informally expressed an interest in Peoria Heights. This is the first one to really move forward with the concept.
Okay. And traffic coming in off Paris to this facility, I know when these places first opened, people were lining up out the doors, but that seemed to have gone away. You don't see people lining up at these
Right.
things anymore.
It's like anything new. I think it's leveled off, and
So I didn't.
they're still doing a very healthy business, but it's not all,
Right.
it's not like it was
Lining
in
up.
January.
Well, everybody was
Friday
jumping
type.
on the horse.
So are there any concerns about traffic?
I don't have any concerns. It's a heavily traveled road anyway, and also looking at the site plan, I think there's a pretty, the parking lot is large. I
big.
think it's going to be able to handle everything that we need. But as far as the amount of traffic on Paris, it's heavily traveled, so.
And plus, half the houses are gone, because it used to be there were houses on both sides. It's not that way anymore. They're all on the south side, and there's even some missing in between since then. It used to be a real nice neighborhood. Not so much now, but I think it's a win-win for the Heights.
Since
Have-
I'm, go ahead.
Have we had any of the residents of citizens along that block email?
Nobody-
Or,
Nobody came last night?
Yeah, legally we did. Did we not? Yeah, it was posted and.
Oh, yeah,
It was
we
posted, but
notified
There was no
everybody.
objection.
did
Yeah,
we send?
We notified everybody, but I don't, as far as I know, we got no letters and nobody came to the meeting.
I know most of the people down there, and they'll probably be customers more than they'll be objecting to it, so.
Did we mail letters to them, or we just
Seriously.
put it in the paper and on our website?
Letters
Well,
were mailed,
Truth is truth.
Letters were mailed?
yes.
We always know.
So, do you feel like the main access point to this is going to be coming in by super liquors, or, I mean, do you think it matters? Like, where, is it gonna affect any residential, like the main way to get into this?
I can't predict.
No, I can speak, I live down there, and I'm gonna tell you, you're not gonna get.
I'll let you go next, but let Dustin answer that
All right.
question.
Well, like I mentioned, the amount of traffic that we see on Paris, London, Wilson, there's a ton of traffic. Those aren't just side streets, those are like main thoroughfares to Prospect. A lot of people use those. So I don't see that's going to be an issue. The residents down there they're used to high levels of traffic. I mean, just cut through traffic, whether you're going to Gebby's or you're going to, like I said, going to Prospect. So I don't see that really being an issue. But the main part on this site plan that I think that's going to help everything is a large parking lot. I think that's going to be huge. If we were putting this parcel or this on a small parcel, this was going to, the line was going to snake out into Paris, that would be more of a concern of mine. But as far as that site plan and what we're seeing in the traffic on those streets, I think we're good. So I'm not really concerned.
Okay, go ahead, trustee Gett.
I live down there, and I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna matter, because a lot of the houses are on the south side of the road, and if they get on Monroe or they get on Illinois, it's not gonna affect it, because you got Walgreens right down the road. It's not gonna increase the traffic that much. I think we're pretty good with where we're sitting.
I don't want to interrupt anyone. I want to mention two things. The first is that, so this spot that they've identified, if we think it's a good spot for something like this, they don't get their license, they have a contingency plan. They brought it up last night. If anyone else remembers what they.
I don't remember
They
what
have
it
another
was,
use.
but they had another use of that land.
Of that land. I mean,
Like they would build a
with the same
different-
facility potentially, but maybe not this particular license. I don't know if they mean this dispensary because it's an outfit out of Missouri that has 9 to 10 of these, or something else, so that's interesting. And then the other thing is, the state law mandates that you can't have the dispensary within 1,500 feet of one another, of each other.
They can't be stacked on top of each other.
So that's close to Peoria. So if we think this is a good spot for Peoria Heights, it might benefit us to identify this now, and because if Peoria identifies something within 1,500 feet, and,
Then we can't use it
yeah.
there.
Is it locked in without them having the license?
That's something for council. I don't know.
No, they actually have to get the license. So once they get a license, they have a site selected, nobody else is going to be able to get a license for a site that's within.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else on this? All right, trustee Kazam, let's move on to the next item, which is approval of a site plan application filed by, I think we probably already got onto this.
Yeah, we
but-
already covered those two together.
So we go to the third one then?
I think so.
Okay, approval of a conditional use, special use application filed by Professional Armed Transport LLC, seeking approval of a conditional use permit for an adult use cannabis transporting organization for the property located at 4703 North Ellen Court, which property is currently zoned I-1. Go ahead, trustee Kazam.
So this is a property on Ellen Court. The use of this property would be purely for housing transportational vehicles. There would be no product on site at any time. Mr. Engelbrecht, many of you might know that he was with Bradley University for many years. He runs PATS, which is a security company. They're professional. It's a clean operation. Again, there's no product on site, so I don't know if anyone has any questions about that, but it was a great presentation, and I feel really confident about the use of that building for this purpose.
I mean, honestly, the operation is going to be 2 vans parked in a garage with an office that they'll occasionally work out of. It's not going to have any impact really whatsoever.
And the vans or whatever trucks, they won't have any logos on them, he said.
I
He
think,
had mentioned that,
he
that
said
they would
that he's not even going
advertise
to, he's thinking he's not even going to put a sign up.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to attract any attention to it because there's nothing there, but people are going to
Would
think there
assume,
might
yeah.
be, so,
Yeah.
why put a target on you?
Well, and this is a group we had met with going back many months. They wanted to be in Peoria Heights, and again, Bill Engelbrecht's got a solid reputation in the community. His partner and son, Andrew Engelbrecht, is a Peoria County deputy, so it will be mostly, if not all, law enforcement people. This will be a good thing, I think, for Peoria Heights and the neighborhood, because there'll be nearly all law enforcement folks working there.
I think he said they hire exclusively law enforcement and/or military.
That's right.
So,
Any questions on this or comment? Okay, then the next is approval of rezoning application filed by KDB Group LLC seeking approval of a map amending rezoning the property located at 1201 and 1203 East Kingman Avenue from the current zoning classifications of R1 to B2. Trustee Kazam, and we'll take both of those.
Okay, together. So
Yeah.
this is earlier, at the end of last year, I guess it was, I'm trying to think of where we are right now after these 3 months, we entered into a lease agreement with KDB Group for the property over here that is known as the Pump House. KDB had many different ideas at the time for the use of this property. They floated the idea of a restaurant slash bar with a potential liquor license, obviously, application. The neighbors really rejected that, and I think KDB has been looking long and hard for appropriate use for this property, and they have come up with, pardon me, a popcorn and candy facility. Beautiful presentation by Farnsworth Group last night. And in my opinion, it's a great use for this. It's kid-friendly, family-friendly, walkable, that type of thing.
Council, you want to add anything before we open it up?
No, I think, the ZBA heard from most of the immediately adjacent neighbors. I can't think of anybody that wasn't here. And while there were objections, I think that, we talked through most of that, and most of the objections were the hours, the parking, the noise, the additional traffic, and so forth. And I think the ZBA did a good job of considering all of those, and they nonetheless recommended approval.
So there's a couple of different aspects to this. Would you explain that not only this has to be approved by the zoning has to be approved by the board, but any change in the lease, we as a landlord would have to approve that as well, correct?
So the lease was struck actually at the beginning of 2019, so it's almost a year old. And the concept in the lease was that it was going to be a restaurant. So obviously, they floated that, it didn't go over well, and KDB just decided to not pursue the restaurant. And so they waited several months, looking for an alternative use. So then the popcorn candy store presented itself late last year, early this year. So the lease has to be amended to allow this use. So the village board is going to have to approve a change to the lease. We have to approve the rezoning. We have to approve the site plan. So pretty much every aspect of what's going on there is going to require village board approval. The ZBA conducts the public hearing. That's where the notice is published, the signs go up, all the neighbors are notified, and everybody has an opportunity, as they did last night, to, voice their concerns and debate, all of the issues, traffic, noise, hours, all of that. So that aspect is done. The recommendation is made to the village board, and, we can entertain that, at our next meeting on the 16th.
Thank you, Council. So we would probably do that on the same night. That would be,
I think so, yes.
so you'd have to prepare a resolution to follow.
Correct.
Okay. All right, we're open for comments.
I mean, I was here last night, I thought that they did a good presentation. So, I'm all for it. I think it's a good idea, especially between two parks.
I also want to point out, I'm sorry, Trustee DeVore, that the zoning board spent a lot of time listening to neighbors on both sides of this issue, and they passed it, and there were some conditions, and they want us to look at the signage and that type of thing. So I know that we want that information, we want to look at it.
After being at last night's meeting, some of the neighbors did not understand like how we could do this residentially, like this is a residential property, like I'm a little confused how it's already even zoned residential. Like I feel like we need to make that clear. Like you can't put a house in the pump house. Like you can't live, no one can live there, right? Like it's not going to be a residential property. It should be a commercial property as it stands right now. So I don't know how to say this. Like, remember there was that point where like some of the maps for zoning were like a little off, like some things were listed as residential, but they were actually business. Are we 100% positive it is listed at R?
We are, but you got to understand that, zoning first came around in 1970, and these buildings were already there. And I think as hard as they tried to keep all the zones, contiguous and make sense, I think this really was just oversight.
Okay.
I honestly do.
I mean, I don't want to see the building lose its historical value. Like, I would hate to see it torn down and to put it into something else. So I think the popcorn shop and candy store is a wonderful use for that property.
And they are doing a historic reuse. This proposal is to maintain this building as is, improve it, paint it, put a new roof on. I think they've already done that. I mean, they've done amazing work, so it's great.
Anyone else?
I think it's great I think it's a better idea for a candy/popcorn place opposed to a restaurant/bar put in the residential area. I mean, at first I was all in favor of some German cuisine, but we could use it up here. But I think a candy popcorn place in a residential area, that's a great idea. I think it's a fantastic idea.
I do have some questions, and I apologize in advance, but I don't know how I always draw this short stick, but
Because you're already
but I do have some questions. When was the lease signed? Greg said he had the building for over a year. One of the gentlemen in the audience swore the lease wasn't even signed, and that there was some negotiation still going on the price of the lease.
I can't answer the when, but we do have a signed lease, and they are paying rent every month on that. So, Council, can you?
The lease was signed either in January or February of 2019.
And I think during that
And it
first.
is, I cannot be more emphatic, there is a signed lease. But again, at that point, the plan was that it was going to be a restaurant.
Right.
And then they withdrew, they met in the spring. I think there were meetings in April and May, and it was clear that there was pretty loud opposition to that concept, so they pulled back. And at that point, kind of waited. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this history, but KDB Group decided to kind of wait and see if some other use emerged, that was more appropriate than a restaurant/bar. where, you know, they made improvements, they improved the, what do we call the building, the community center?
The Centennial Building.
Centennial Building, thank you. They re-roofed that, they've, you know, spent money cleaning the property up in anticipation of the use, but never, you know, obviously no business has ever opened in there. There was an exchange, they have asked for, because the popcorn store, it's going to be tough at that rent level. That's something we'll have to tackle, but it's obviously, they're moving forward one way or another, and we haven't modified the lease. The request has been made, so that part is true, but right now, we have a signed lease, and I think it's $2,500 a month. They've been paying rent. They started paying rent in January, I think January 2nd or 3rd. As far as I know, they've paid every month, and so that's really the history at this point.
Is it a year lease?
No,
It's a 10-year lease, I
I think
think.
it's 10 years with 2 10-year options or something like that. It's a long-term lease.
If I can give you a little background on that. So when I became mayor, through no fault of the village, we just weren't in a good financial position. That property, in my opinion, wasn't as well kept as I thought it should be, but we just didn't have the resources or the people to make that happen, including the Centennial Building and the pump house. And if anyone here hasn't been through the pump house, you should get a tour of it because the construction of it is just magnificent. That building should be, in my opinion, preserved for as long as possible. So when the KDB group was first filtering through the area, Mr. Blickenstaff has an affinity for history, as I think all of us know, and he happened to know about the pump house and wanted to see it, so we took him over there and showed it to him one day, and he fell in love with it and wanted to buy the property. So I personally was opposed to that, but brought it before the board at that time, which prior to your time here, Trustee Weisenberg. And I'm not typically a believer in selling public property for a couple of reasons. One, that's a nice piece of property, but also we wanted control over that property. So by selling it, you know, we would have had cash on hand, but we had a lot of expense in maintaining that building with heating and lighting, et cetera. And in the past, that was really, we ran a business out of that building. I mean, there were work trucks in and out of there throughout the day. That was the brain box, what I call the brain box for running the water controls. So the board at that time decided to lease the property, long-term lease, but of course, good lawyers always have out clauses for either side to disconnect if that ever came to that. But we had a lot of public hearings, a lot of discussion, and the board in the end decided to lease the property to KDB. At that time, it was, as stated, it was a small, low-key bistro within the neighborhood, and I think KDB just decided that they didn't want to pursue that, even though the board gave them permission. So fast forward quite a bit, they did some leasehold improvements, and they were asking all of us, what about what concepts? So we've heard some comments from people that live here. There's not always things affordable. There's not always things for kids, like some of us remember, going back to Velvet Freeze and those sorts of things, Spotted Cow. So I actually put them in contact with Pete Clarno, because Pete, who Trustee Gett is old enough, he's my age, Mr. Clarno grew up here in Peoria Heights, and then he left and came back. He's not only wants to be a Heights business person, he's a Heights resident, lives over on Constantine, so had a great deal of comfort with Pete, but he had another property in mind in the village to do a popcorn concept, and that didn't quite pan out. So I thought, I'll put Pete together with KDB, and that was a few months ago. And Pete and his wife Linda thought that would be a good fit, and I know Dustin had kept all of you in the loop to test the waters to see if you all felt the same way, so we didn't get any pushback, so here we are today. So I hope that sheds some light on.
It does. So from what I understand from the zoning meeting, the intended parking is going to be along the residential side, on-street parking. Is that what I understand?
Council, you or Beth want to take that?
Would you, because I stepped out at that, I apologize.
No, it's really hard to predict where people are going to park that are going to go there, because there are so many different options around, including the lot right out here. But yeah, it's likely that people are going to park on a residential street.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's really where my concerns come in. One of the gentlemen on the zoning board made a comment to one of the ladies in the audience who had an issue with the on-street parking. And he made the comment that he lives on Grandview Drive and people park and walk all the time. And I don't think that comment was fair to the lady. I think she lived on Euclid, because I got on Google Maps today and I measured the distance between the houses and the street on Euclid, and the average was like 9 feet. On Grandview Drive, it's like 180 feet. So having someone park 8 feet from your kitchen window is magnitudes different than someone who's parking 200 feet from your house. There really is no invasion of privacy or any detriment to the homeowner if you're parking 200 feet away from the building. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to see the person in the window, most likely. So I'm a little concerned. I asked myself, would I want someone parked right outside my window, or a business clientele parked outside my window? And the answer is I wouldn't. I don't think anybody would. So I'm a little concerned. I wish Greg was here, because I thought the concept was amazing. I was blown away by it. But I'm a little concerned about the impact on the neighborhood.
I have one question for council. The vacant lot that KDB bought over here, is that going to be used for parking as well?
They brought that up, but that went over very negatively. There was a lot of pushback on that concept.
Okay, well, I guess that's my question. I think it's one or the other, and I understand, right, some parking on residential streets can get crowded. We know that from the police side getting through, and I'm not sure what the answer is. But I also think there's going to be a lot of kids going to this thing on bikes, not so much cars. It's not a liquor store where it's going to be in and out traffic. It's going to be, I think you're going to see a lot of kids, especially from the park, which is foot traffic, bike traffic. But it could have the potential of being an issue in front of somebody's residence. That is true, Trustee Weisenberg. But I think that we have that quite a few places. Not that it's right or wrong. But I do think there's going to be a lot of bike traffic. I think a lot of kids will go to this, whether they're at Tower Park or Wiley Haynes, excuse me. And but I was curious to see how they were going to use that, or if that was even an option. Is that just off the table now?
I don't think they wanted to pursue that given the pushback that they got.
Okay.
Anything else,
If
Trustee?
parking were the issue, that would be their alternative.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad you brought it up, Chief, because when it was going to be a restaurant, that was where the parking was going to be. And I'm just curious why they're not going to still pursue that. I mean, they still own that empty lot, right?
Right.
And we have no idea what that's going to be used for then.
But that lot also backs up to 2 houses. Like, if it were me, I'd rather have somebody park in the front of my house versus the back of my house being a parking lot. Like, if you buy a house there and you're looking to raise your kids, you really don't want a parking lot behind that. I mean, I would be unhappy with that.
To answer the question, Trustee Gett, that would devastate the neighborhood to have a parking lot. I would never move with my family into a neighborhood that had a parking lot next to my
Well, I
house.
was curious, because when we all started off with this, that was going to be a parking lot. I mean, I went over there on Marietta, and they put up Continental Can.
I do remember when this was first brought up about that lot, and it was going to be a restaurant bar. I know someone had brought up about putting some barriers up so it would block the lights coming into the restaurant. I'm not sure if that was even, if that would make a difference. I'm just trying to find the best solution. I think the popcorn candy is a great fit over there, it's my opinion, but I do understand the parking issues, and I do understand living next to it with all the lights and everything else pulling in and out of that lot. But if I remember right, they did mention that they were going to put up some kind of barrier, and again, but if that's off the table, then it's a moot point.
Well, until we address that parking issue, there were a whole lot more cars parked on that road than will be for the popcorn shop, I think. Sir, we've already had public comment. Would you like to say something?
Yes, I would. I live at 1211 Euclid, and I have a situation with parking right in front of my house. Euclid is a double lot, but the situation that I have is that you blocked off parking on the other side of the street, and I think that was the idea, that there was going to be a restaurant put in there. Now it's yellow marked, no parking on this side, nobody parks there. I don't know why it can't be opened up. That's my question. And that's, I guess, my question. Why don't you open that up so that parking for this popcorn place you're going to have there has parking?
Well, my opinion, this, what the board decided to do on restricting the one side has been, I think I've received a lot of positive calls on how that's affected traffic, and it's a lot easier to get through there. So I think that what the board did at that time was a positive. Are you asking that it should be blocked off on both sides, or nothing at all, or?
No, not both sides. Just open that back up to what it was before, and you're saying that, what you just said. Do you think that restricts parking or traffic through there?
That would open up more parking, but it also would generate other problems that we've already discussed and this board agreed on and move forward. So I think by addressing one issue, I think it recreates another, and that's my opinion. And that was what I said back when I recommended restricting actually both sides, but we came up with a compromise because some of the residents there needed some more area to park, but.
Okay. I should have been here last night. I realized that.
Well, sir, please, we all have public emails, so please call us or email us, and I'd encourage you to come back for the next meeting when we approve this. So, I mean, everything is fair game. It's hard. The board is still making up its mind. So thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And I just want to add something to comment to what you said. That decision was not made at the time because we thought there was a bar restaurant going in there. That decision was made because we felt that it was safer to not have cars on both sides of the street in that particular area for children. So I just wanted to clarify that for you.
Thank you. All right. But thank you. Since I've opened public comment, anyone else want to make a comment just on this issue? Anyone else? Yep. Come forward, please. So.
I mean, popcorn shop would be awesome right on Prospect. They just get so much more business, but that's just my opinion. That's way off the beaten path, all the little walking shops, but if it doesn't work out there, put it on Prospect, down by the Nook,
The Nook.
That's my issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else on this? Trustee Kazam, anything else?
Go ahead. Do you have something else to say?
I'm sorry.
No, go.
It was about zoning. So we're confused on why it was zoned the way it's zoned. What is this property zoned as?
This is
The pump house?
B1.
This right here?
Where we sit is B2. Right outside the door of the park is B1.
Okay, so the village government properties are zoned business?
Correct.
Is that what I'm?
Correct. Which means that property should have been zoned
Right,
the same
I
way.
understand that. That was kind of the weird part with
Oversight.
the zoning, right.
Many years ago.
Yeah.
Many, back in the 70s, 80s, 70s?
70s.
That pump house was built during the WPA, so Village Hall used to be down near the PAP site, so that preceded zoning by 70 years or so.
Yeah. And council, yesterday it was mentioned that our leasing that and making income off it was a conflict. Do you have any concerns about, do you have any concerns about
We
that?
sell property all the time. I mean, no.
Okay.
But the Illinois Municipal Code, the state statute that governs what municipalities can do, specifically authorizes municipalities to lease property.
And I'll say, when we first came up, I was one of those like, let's sell this thing, get out from underneath it. Mayor Phelan wisely said, no, because if we do that, we have no control of what happens over there. So I give him kudos for keeping control of it. And, because I was on, let's get rid of that property, put it on tax rolls, but hanging on to it and keeping control of it has been a good thing for us.
Then I'll be quiet. One more question. Will the new lease explicitly state candy shop?
I don't know that there'll be a new lease, but go ahead, Council.
The existing lease doesn't necessarily need to be modified. It says the permitted use for the tenant is a restaurant bar. Any change in the use requires village board approval. So we don't necessarily need to amend the lease, but they do have to get specific approval from this board to change that permitted use from restaurant to candy store.
Could we, some of the concerns in the audience was that if it fails, then the business is already zoned and they can just turn it into a bar.
And because of the lease, that's not true.
Okay.
But beyond that, beyond the fact that they have to come back to the board to change it to a bookstore or any use that isn't a restaurant, or I'm sorry, candy store / popcorn store, the variance that was granted, which does not, that's the one zoning aspect that doesn't come to the village board. The ZBA is the last word on that. The parking variance was conditioned that it only applied as long as the use remained popcorn / candy store. Any change in use, and they're back to having to comply with the parking requirements, which is a minimum for off-street parking, by the way, and you can't use the street. So they would have to, basically build a parking lot on that lot somewhere that fit at least 4 cars.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have a couple more questions now too. So you said that the KVD group started paying rent in January, so was that of January of 2020 or 2019?
I'm sorry, this year, yes.
It was 2020. So they signed a lease in January of 19 and then did all the updates to it, which they've done a fantastic job, and then effectively started paying rent in 2020?
Correct.
Okay, what is the rent reduction they're asking for? Do we know?
I don't even remember.
It's not specific. I mean, I have a ballpark, just in general discussion, but that is something that we'll be bringing to the board once that's made, but I don't have a specific number.
Okay. And then, are people assuming that we do not have a signed lease, do you think, because it says a bar restaurant and not a candy store?
I have no idea why people think that.
And then, is this gonna cause uproar for the fact that we're gonna do the lease first and then potentially approve this in the same meeting? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, does that look like, we're being accused of not being upfront about it, but then we're gonna change the lease and then turn around and approve a candy store? Am I saying it properly?
I think there are enough safeguards in this that it is all going to come back to the board, that there is no conspiracy theory, from my understanding, that was being made last night. I wasn't here, obviously, I was working, but I think that there's so many safeguards in place that the board is going to have total control. There is nothing underhand, it's all been above board, and I know I'll go a little bit back from what the mayor said, is I've met with residents over here as well, after the bar concept was scrapped, to kind of get some, input on a lot of those residents I know over there on the popcorn and candy shop. Majority of them were for it. So I think we've done some due diligence there. There's nothing been underhanded. It's all been above board. I think that this board, this mayor has been, they've gone above and beyond to try to find a perfect fit over there for this community, and I think they've done that. But just to put an end to my comment on this, you have enough safeguards in place, I think, to protect all, as far as nothing getting by you. It all is going to come to you in the end, as far as any changes or anything else. As of right now, it's going to be a popcorn candy shop. Now, if something would change, it will come to the board, and they can vote it down, and we'll make that decision then. But
and this is a policy decision. If this board decided you don't want to lease the building any longer, we could direct council to take the property back, if that's what you want to do, so.
I wasn't leaning that way.
I'm just,
to get all the facts.
I didn't think you were,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to make that statement. We're the stewards of that building.
Right. The irony about the implication that any of this was not done above board, this, unlike any business in the Heights, has 4 layers of approvals that are required. When one of these restaurants changes hands, we have no say whatsoever. It just happens. With this, we have to approve a change to the lease. We had to grant a variance, public hearing required. We had to approve the site plan, public hearing required. We had to approve rezoning. This hasn't happened, but the ZBA, public hearing required. All of those steps, notice letters go out to all of the neighbors. You're going to have multiple hearing, opportunities for the public to comment in open session before both the zoning board and this board. So it really couldn't possibly be a more transparent process as compared to any other business that changes use or changes hands.
I have one more, I'm sorry.
No, just go ahead.
So, when, now I lost it, go ahead.
Sorry.
I don't think anything nefarious was going on. One of the questions or the concerns is why Kim would sign a lease and spend that money without knowing what was going to happen. And
That's the easiest one.
I think that from what I've seen, that's just him.
Yeah.
And being present when we first showed him that building, he loved the building, fell in love with the building, and that's exactly how that transpired. He
I
just,
think if the mayor would have said yes, he would have pulled out his checkbook
Right.
and written a check on the spot.
Right.
It was that sort of love at first sight.
Well, and two reasons that I don't mind saying in public. One was the most important reason we didn't sell it was control, but the second reason was it was better for us financially. That property wouldn't have appraised for a lot of money, but having $2,500 a month in cash flow coming in, they're paying a lot more, way more than the building is worth this way, but they didn't object to that. So again, we and the board at that time really took a hard look at that neighborhood. I mean, we did things over at Wiley Haynes Park. We put better lighting over at the park. This was all to improve the neighborhood. And, you know, there are differences of opinion about this, but I think this concept, I had some reservations about the restaurant, whether it would work. I think it would have worked, but I think this is much better concept. It'll fit nicely with Tower Park. I mean, we have thousands of people here that come to Tower Park for all sorts of events, so nobody objects to that, and the parking issue there. So, again, it was all done fully transparent with the idea of helping the neighborhood, and of course we want the input of the neighbors, but I think there are one or two neighbors that they don't want anything in my backyard. They want nothing there. So again, we had work trucks there for years throughout the day. I mean, there were a lot of water trucks parked there off and on throughout the day. We ran a business out of that for a long time. I just think that property deserves better, and if we take the property back, if that's something the board would choose to do, although I know most of you are opposed to that, but we should improve it then. And I thought this was a way for the property to be improved and a good fit for the neighborhood.
If for some reason we didn't allow this to happen, right? Like we say no candy store, nothing. What legal ramifications are we held liable to for the fact that now we've charged them rent, we've prohibited them from making, you know, from being able to provide us with that rent, and they put $40,000+ into renovations in that building? Like, at what point are we held liable from stopping them from being able to make money to pay rent? Does that make sense?
It does. I would prefer not to get into that kind of a discussion in a public session like this.
Okay.
That's a discussion.
Good point, but I've not heard any pushback from
Well, I'm
KDB.
sure they wouldn't, right? But I mean, at some point we have to, we said that they could put a business in there.
You bring up a good point. The board at that time, and this board can enter into agreements too, but the board at that time entered into a good faith agreement between two parties to do something with that property.
Okay.
And again, I think there were plenty of protections for the village and the neighborhood put in place, which is why we're talking about this, and they just can't put anything in there. Even a popcorn store, it has to go through public scrutiny and a whole lot of discussion tonight, and I think that's healthy. I think that's a good thing.
My concerns with parking aside, I think they made a good point at the zoning board last night, is if we don't do this, what are we going to do with that building?
Yeah.
Right now, it's a liability. It's costing us money. Well, I guess not now that there's a lease, but before that, it was costing us money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have no use for it.
Have you been to the building trust?
I have not.
You really should.
Arrange a tour, maybe.
It is so charming. Now, the challenges are, and this is where they didn't ask these questions ahead of time, but as a tenant, there's a whole lot of life safety issues since this building was built during the Depression. So ADA issues and life safety issues. So they're probably gonna put, I don't know, $125,000, $150,000 extra money into this building to bring it up to code. And that's another layer, I think, is it not, Chief Sutton, that you know, Tony will have to inspect everything going on over there, our own building inspector? And
That's correct.
anyway,
I'm done.
okay.
Okay.
Good discussion.
I gotta say something people brought about. When Trustee Carter and I met with Kim Blick and staff the first time with the library, and he's talking about, we're at a new performing arts center for Peoria Heights, and he keeps talking and all this stuff, and I'm going, why? Why? Well, of course, I'm thinking why. Trustee Carter says, why? She vocalized, and he says, because he grew up in this area. He used to come here and his father's sitting in his father's lawyer's office, who was
Bill Rutherford.
Bill Rutherford, and he'd do his homework, and he would watch all this stuff. And so he was encouraged to go on by Rutherford to college, and then he's been gone all these years, but he's come back home. I seen the picture of him in the Journal-Star of the work he's doing over here in Spring Bay. The man's come home, and he wants to make this place better. I mean, it's his boyhood home. This is apples to oranges, right? I mean, it's not even apple. This is apples to onions. When I moved out to Omaha, and I lived out there for 3 years, and I came home, the house on Marietta where my parents grew, where I grew up, that was my home, but that wasn't all my home. Peoria Heights is my home. He's come back to Central Illinois, and this is his home, and he just, I mean, I seen the expression on his face in that picture of all the work he's doing over here, all the work he's doing here. He's really big on I never heard of this architect before, but he's been involved in Peoria Heights, the library. He's been involved in, well, it's gone now, the Bradley basketball, it's gone. But a lot of the stuff he was involved in, he's really for Central Illinois and improving this community. I think he's one of these guys he hit it big, and he wants to come back and take care of his hometown.
We should be thankful for that.
Yes, we got very lucky on this. Peoria's drooling over what we got going on here. So I think the candy, I miss Ben Franklin. This is what I remember. You got this candy store going over here. My kids, on Kelly Avenue, when we do JBL, I'd give my kids money and they run up to Ben Franklin and get the candy out of the little dishes and stuff like this. It's probably not going to be the same, but I think that's a better deal than a restaurant bar going over here in the neighborhood, put a candy popcorn place. I know I'll be up there. I mean, like I can afford it, but I can afford it money-wise. Physique-wise, But anyhow, sorry.
Okay, we're going to move on to administration. Actually, council, this next item we're going to handle after the executive session, correct?
So, yes.
Okay. So we would be at miscellaneous business. We're going to have an update on Phase 3 from Chief Sutton. First item.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, we discussed as a board how we were going to approach the Phase 3 and reopening, and I can proudly sit here today and say that this last weekend was a success for the business owners, for the village, and also for the Peoria Heights Police Department. I think the game plan that we put in place and how we handled traffic and the amount of people coming out to dine at our restaurants, it was seamless and very efficient from the PD standpoint. So I know we talked about different recommendations. My recommendation moving forward is for us to do nothing different, and this is the reason why. We'll police this the same as we did last weekend with the officers assigned to that detail. And the other reason that I know we discussed at one time, possibly a lane diet, shutting off the outside lanes on both direction. With what's been going on in the Tri-County area, law enforcement's been dealing with, I don't think that's really the proper time to shut down traffic. We have a lot of high-speed vehicles coming through Peoria Heights that the police department is dealing with and will continue to deal with, and I don't think that's somewhere we should put a table and a patron out in the street. So my recommendation is to continue what we did last weekend. It was a success, and I say I will monitor this weekly and report back to the board. Now, if we get to a point that I think that we have a better game plan, that I'll bring it back to you in another recommendation. But as of right now, this was a huge success. I want to thank all the businesses, the board, the residents. Everybody was on their best behavior. They were very respectful and courteous to everybody around them. I got multiple comments from people that were here from the county board, the health department, how well things were done from our restaurants. So I've been very proud of that. So If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them, but I think this is the game plan moving forward that I think it will help everybody out.
Any comments or questions?
I do have a comment. I want to say that I've heard a lot of compliments about people seeing the police all over. It makes them feel safe. So kudos to our police department. You guys have done a fantastic job. Thank you, personally. And I've been up and down Prospect also, and it's a very nice feeling to see all the people sitting out. You know, we've been quarantined for so long, and now we're able to get out and enjoy the fresh air, enjoy the people. So, you know, kudos to all the businesses too to be able to handle that. I also want to say, I haven't been on it yet, but as soon as I get my arm fixed, I'm going on that pedal cart. I don't know who's been on it yet, but I can hear it at my house. I can tell when they go by Prospect because you can hear them hollering, and it's a good feeling. So I'm not even sure, where do they keep that pedal cart at? Do we know?
I
Do
don't
they
know.
keep it
if-
around here, or is it?
Oliver, sorry if I can, you get on it at Oliver's.
Yeah, but where do they store it at? Do you know?
Someone just told me, but
Is it somewhere? I mean,
it's like around here, like in the Heights somewhere.
Okay, so
Trustee
it's like
Carter,
a
let me know
garage
when
or
you're ready to go. I'll help you.
But
Because I
anyways,
heard they had a problem coming up Prospect.
I just wanted to make sure we mention the pedal cart because it seems like it's doing a good job. I mean, it's loaded when I see it. It's loaded with people just pedaling their butts off, but.
It's Ellen Court. There's another warehouse building on Ellen Court where this transport is. That's where they're keeping it, on Ellen
good,
Court.
Good, okay. But anyways, I just wanted to put that out there to thank the police department for keeping us safe, and to obviously to stay safe yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Anyone else on that?
Yeah, I just want to second what Trustee Carter just said, especially the events of last night and this past weekend. Kudos to the police department. I've heard a lot of good things about your guys' visibility, and I think that made the world a difference. So,
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Not only as a resident, but as a business owner too, it was very grateful to come to work today and have a place to work, so thank you.
Well, I'd like to echo that. This gentleman sitting next to me, who I'm so proud of as an administrator, has been getting to work about 6 a.m. and was in uniform on the street last night until the wee hours of the night. Back here this morning, he's doing the same thing tonight. He's in uniform. He's going back on the street after this meeting is over with. I think leadership, you set by example, you lead by example, and certainly very proud of him and everyone on the Peoria Heights Police Department who are kept us safe all through COVID and all through this week. So all of you stay safe. Anything else under miscellaneous business?
I have one thing, Mayor. I just wanted to bring up that earlier today, we had a really lovely conversation with Rebecca Cottrell from, actually, she's not with Better Earth Logistics.
Peoria County.
Peoria County, okay. And their initiative right now is to expand our commercial and residential food scrap collection. And so we are talking with both Mike Casey and Dave Marfell about finding potentially a location for a kiosk that would be a receptacle to collect composting materials. So we'll get back to you, and there's going to be more information about that. And it's a very interesting initiative, a green initiative, and I think it's a desirable thing to have in our community.
Thank you.
I have one more. Can I make a comment about the school district? They posted, and Mike, I don't know if you can chime in on it, but since it's being recorded, any resident, Peoria Heights residents that have any children from birth to age 17, if you have a child that's 18 that is registered at the District 325, they are doing a weekly grocery shop. They will supply the food, is what I'm guessing. So, and you have to register. So get a hold of the District 325 office. Anybody out there that is a resident that has children. I mean, it's free to the residents, correct?
Yes.
So I just kind of want to make that, I mean, that should help a lot of people. And I mean, they did a fantastic job of doing the breakfast and the lunches. I mean, they delivered over 1,000. That is incredible. And it was all free. I mean, we didn't charge. The school district didn't charge, yeah. So they're doing this grocery, I can't remember, is it grocery shop or, I'm really sorry about not knowing exactly, but call the district office if you are a resident of Peoria Heights and you have children from birth to age 17, to get free groceries. And it doesn't matter about your income. If you have children, call them. I encourage it.
Thank you. Yep.
I just want to mention one more thing on I know trustee Mariscal isn't here, but on her behalf, she did contact me about putting on our website, Ameren's offering a relief or financial assistance program. It's on our website, so I want to thank trustee Mariscal for bringing that to my attention, but since she isn't here tonight, I'm glad I remembered that. So
That was grants for businesses only, right?
No, I believe that is residential as well.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yes. But it's on our website, so you can go to that, hit the link, and educate yourself on exactly what it is. But I know she was going to bring that up tonight, but she was able to be here with us.
Any other miscellaneous? We'll move on to payment of the bills. I'd ask for a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any question or discussion?
I do have a question.
Madam Clerk?
I do have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Okay, so this is, it's probably really quick. This is on the development district, the grants that we did,
Yes.
which kudos to you guys too for developing it and getting it out. It looks like we only spent like $106,000 and we could have paid out $330,000. So at least some of the businesses took advantage of it and used it, which is a good thing.
Correct.
The question that I have, I kind of figured out some of it. What's the difference on the class where you have 1, 2, I get the general admin is the mortgage grant that we took out. Why did we do general admin?
So this is actually on advice of Steve's client's office. We are not allowed to use BDD funds for the mortgage grant because of state statute. We have to use general funds. So what we actually did behind the scenes that's not reflected in this is there were unpaid general fund expenses that could have been charged to BDD. For example, my time can be charged to BDD. And the general fund pays for all of my time. So we drew up a list of everything that had not been repaid, sent it to client's office, they approved it, and we have a basic backstore of general fund things that could be repaid. So we are using BDD funds that have been repaid to the general fund to establish the specific relief fund to pay these. So the final transfers will be made after we have the total amount that we need for that mortgage program.
Okay, and is that deal with like BDD number 1 or BB number 2? I can't.
Since they are two separate districts, we have to have two, it's basically the same thing as like admin versus police. It's the same pot of funds, but I have to keep them separate.
Right, I get that. I was trying to figure it out, but man, okay.
And Trustee Carter, and I will send out when this expires June 5th, and I will send out final numbers to all the board members so they know exactly who participated and what the figures were. So that'll be, once it's expired, you'll get an administrative summary.
Okay. My other thing, I was kind of interested to see that, isn't that J.S. Whitson, isn't he a dentist? So he gets charged the tax to be in the BDD?
This one.
I'm interested in that.
On what company?
Maybe he's selling product. He might be selling something other than just services, like yours.
Yeah, so like if he sells like a teeth cleaning thing, you still have to pay sales tax.
Not per tooth, you know.
So like I pay sales taxes on my product, right?
Right.
But I don't pay sales taxes on the service. So if he's cleaning teeth but then selling take-home whitening product, he still has to charge sales tax on the take-home product.
Okay.
It's the same thing with the vet, with the product.
Yeah.
And I think when we approved this, I believe we came to the conclusion that they didn't necessarily have to pay sales tax.
Correct.
To apply for this program. They just had to be geographically within the BDD.
Yeah.
So some companies who don't pay sales tax could have potentially applied for this and been approved.
Very good point.
Exactly.
Right.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter? To approve the bills? Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
All right, that passes. I would ask for a motion to go into executive session for 5 ILCS 120/2C11, possible or pending litigation, and 5 ILCS 120/2C21, minutes from executive session.
So moved.
No second?
A second.
All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Just a moment, please. Trustee Carter.
Aye.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Gatt.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
All right, we are going into executive session. We will return. We will only conduct one piece of business, and that is approval of closed session minutes. We won't conduct any other business, but we'll be going into executive session now, so. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. We have one piece of business, which is releasing of closed session minutes. Council, you have a recommendation?
I do, Mr. Mayor, Resolution 2020, is it 01, is that right? We, first of all, I've taken Section 5 out of the resolution as presented. That was from the last resolution, and it's not appropriate in this. And then I'm going to go through the list and identify by date which minutes are going to be on Schedule A, which is released to the public, and which are going to be on Schedule B, which is not released. So bear with me, and I'll go through based on our discussions and decision in closed session. August 28th of 2018 is going to go on Exhibit A, which means they can be released. September 4, 2018 is going to go on Exhibit B, which means they remain confidential. October 16, 2018 is going to go on Exhibit A, which means they can be released. October 23rd, 2018 is going to go on Schedule B, which means they will not be released. November 6, 2018, Schedule B. December 18, 2018 will go on Schedule A. March 5, 2019 on Schedule B. March 26, 2019 on Schedule B. May 21, 2019 on Schedule B. August 27, 2019 will go on Schedule B. October 22nd, 2019 will go on Schedule B. November 5, 2019 will go on Schedule B. And December 3, 2019 will also go on Schedule B. I will prepare that document and submit it to the clerk.
Thank you. So we have a recommendation by Council Mark Walton to release scheduled minutes and then to hold scheduled minutes. I'd ask for a motion to approve the recommendation by council.
Motion to approve the recommendation by council.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter.
Aye.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Gatt.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
That passes. Trustee Gett,
I move to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion to adjourn signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all.
Just so everybody knows.